You'll get some guy that has some idea that doesn't sound right to you, but you don't want to blow him off. You don't want to be an asshole, so you listen to him because you're worried about him tilting and feeding down mid. There's nothing you can do to like sate these players, these people that are going to be toxic like this, because this is the definition of toxicity, right? He's doing things and then it is then affecting your behavior because now you're starting to play or act differently based off of what he's doing. That's toxic, right? That's exactly what toxicity is. Hey guys, welcome back. This is weekly coaching number 22. Last week the homework was to manage our items a little bit better, to practice tread switching, using the courier more often, basically just paying more attention to our inventory. So in this game here is the Wind Ranger. I noticed he was already doing a really good job with buying more wards and placing them and kind of spending his gold, not letting it float too much, swapping items around, stuff like that. So we don't really need to look at that, but that's already an improvement. And then this game here with the Slardar, he was saying it was like kind of really hard lane, and then also what were you saying, Ludi, that your team was like telling you to like do stuff, but you felt like you had to do different stuff, right?
There was like, can we like stay in lane and fight the TA because she was like free, but like I felt like if I get a blink dagger I could kill the others and like maybe ignore the TA for the slot to get on later on. But if I just kept fighting the TA, I feel like they just like I don't get like a blink dagger, I don't get anything, and then I feel like they just take us in the team fight. Like Tiny will have a blink dagger and then Tiny will just like smack us all up, if that makes, I don't know. Right.
You feel like it's setting you too far behind to just be like fighting constantly. I think that's generally true with Slardar. Slardar kind of needs like, he's one of those heroes that kind of, he needs to have a good lane, and then he needs like a little bit of time to go buy a couple items, and then he starts doing stuff. He's not like a you know, like a timber saw or something like that where he's kind of ready to go like immediately. Like he definitely needs some stuff.
I feel like he needs like blink and a item, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that's true. Like he's not good in sustained like multiple person lanes generally because he doesn't know a way to harass from range and doesn't even have like really good mana cost. Like he's a good duelist, he's a good 1v1 hero, but he's not good in like these early game skirmishes usually.
Situation,
yeah. So we'll have a look. So first off, we would always have the same questions. So did you know this was the lane you were going to be in, right? And then that would affect any items you would want to buy or how you'd be thinking about playing it.
I generally did think it was a Drow safe lane, and then Tiny Pos, Tiny Pos free, Quap or TAs like the mid, and then if not, like it would be a Quap support. But then I thought, oh, maybe like they've got TA support, and then they had like Grim and Tiny, and they've just got Quappers off lane, if that makes sense.
I think your initial read on it would be the same one I would have. I would be expecting a Drow safe lane. The thing is, like, I suppose whether it's Drow or TA, it doesn't really change the lane too much for you. And also, TA support is terrible. So if they do that, then don't even worry about it.
I mean, like, I feel like Pos free Quap, if that makes sense. She's got like, and then it's got like a Tiny Grimstroke was like support.
Yeah, I could see that. For sure. Okay.
I just feel like if it was Drow, it'd been it, because like when you like duel, like TA's like also a good dueler, like because of it, like obviously the shield and what. So it's like a bit hard because like a lot of my damage is just burst as well.
Well, yes and no. You have your bash, which is good over time. So I think to start with, so there's already a few things I'm noticing, right? So it's 2 minutes. We haven't spent this gold, so it goes back to that.
Yeah.
I know this is even harder to do as a core than it is as a support because you feel like you gotta focus on last hits, and then you're also, I mean, at least for me, I'm like worried about like, what if my courier chases me through the creep wave and then I lose my courier, right? So it could be even harder to spend your gold as a core. But this
I
would
think
make a difference. Yeah.
I think it's normally at the start, because I think if I'm like around like 4 minutes, I can get like 2 items. Like sent out to me then at like normally.
Yeah, that's just the first thing that would make this easier, right? So if we had, if this net worth was translated into an item, that would help. Second thing is, I wouldn't go Guardian Spirit level 2.
Oh.
And I would honestly, I think starting Crush can be good to help you secure blast hits. You can start Bash the Deep as well. That's fine. It's not going to be super good against TA. Honestly, Slardar versus TA is not like a really good matchup early on because, like you said, he's kind of bursty and her refraction kind of nullifies burst damage, right? So if the TA is good, you don't really ever do any damage to her. Later, though, Slardar does become better against her because he can basically track her when she goes invis. So that's better. But basically, this is going to be kind of a not amazing lane for you either way. I don't think it's unplayable, but I wouldn't expect to be like stomping it. But anyway, I wouldn't take sprint this early.
I think it was to get away from the Grimstroke thing, because when she got on top of me, she did just yeet me, like kill me very.
Yeah, but your Crush also kind of does a similar thing, right? Like if she goes on you, you can just stun her. But you get a lot of utility out of this spell. This is a very good spell, so don't underrate this. Like, because obviously it helps you with last hitting, it helps you with damage. It's also a slow and it's a stun. Like, there's so many uses for a stun, right? Especially an AOE stun. And you don't have a lot of mana, but having a way to spend it early is nice anyway. So you could start E or W. But I would get the other one right after that. I don't think sprint really does anything for you here. Not really. You just don't need it. Grimstroke and TA are not heroes that are going to like run you down, you know, like it's not really that style. Like a Slark or something like that, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so we got to really avoid that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
obviously.
that was the one where I was like, oh, should have just went away. Like, really.
So I can see like you're trying to defend your Rubik here. A lot of why I would say this is not good. It's not just because you died, right? But what makes it not good is that they have 6 creeps. So while you're fighting these two, you're also tanking the entire creep wave. See how much damage these creeps are doing to you? It's basically like fighting 3 or 4 heroes at the same time. All this creep damage kind of adds up. Like a creep wave is kind of like maybe like 1 hero, maybe 2. I don't know. Grimstroke does 55 damage. These are each doing like 20. I know they have a different damage type or whatever, but yeah, that's like fighting multiple heroes at once there. So obviously we got to avoid that. We got to inform when we're aggressive, like primarily based on where the creeps are. That's gonna dictate to you when it's gonna be a good time to go or not. And if we're already, this is another kind of just a mindset thing that you can kind of adopt, and it really doesn't matter what the hero is. If you're already feeling like the lane is hard, then going for kills is usually a way to like torpedo your lane and make it even harder. Right? Because then, you know, if you underestimate it, now your lane's like even harder. But I wouldn't even say it's that bad. Like outside of that one death, you're pretty close in last hits and denies. I mean, she's 20 and 0, you're 15 and 4. That's effectively the same spot. So really the only thing that's going wrong here is that you're dying. So that would just be, it's partly the items, partly the skill build as well. This stun will help keep you alive. It's kind of just, I don't know, you need to be, let me see real quick. Like, is there anything I would do differently here? That's tanking a tower shot. Yeah, when you need to move to the left here.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you're instinctively going towards your tower, but he's kind of in between you right there. So See if I didn't break the replay here. Obviously, we take a big hit from her while we have negative armor, and then the tower hits you, so you have to be careful about that. And then you move south, and he cuts you off. So if you move to the left, higher chance you survive there. But also, it was that meld with the tower hitting you at the same time that did a shit ton of damage. So you just have to be wary of that. I think you've asked me in the past about like when would you buy a Wraith Band, and I think actually this type of lane is one where I would consider it, simply because they have negative armor. And if you're planning to kind of sit in lane for a long time, that armor and attack speed will help.
Okay.
So this is one where you could go for a Wraith Band, or you just like I would not buy a magic wand in this type of a lane. I wouldn't bother with that. Stick at maximum.
I thought like just because she kept using is it refraction and meld, I'd get the charges off it.
Yeah, but the thing is with TAs, it usually think about like when you fight a TA, right? How many times does she actually cast these two spells during the entire like engagement with her? Maybe like
maybe twice.
Maybe she gets a second meld off. That's really it, right?
Yeah.
She isn't really going to be casting traps. Sideblades isn't giving you charges, so you're usually going to be getting like 2 charges off of a TA per engagement, whereas Grimstroke you're going to be getting like 3 or 4, right, if he spends all of his spells. And some of these are going to be coming up faster than others, right, where you can kind of spam them. So Stick is not very good against TA because of that. I would definitely not upgrade it into a magic wand. So I don't know when you bought the stick. Let me see. You just, okay, woo, all right. So you went from no stick to just straight up buying a full wand, right? So that's something else to avoid. Your inventory in this, usually what Slardars are doing nowadays, and you can obviously like verify this, like you can go look at like Dota Pro Tracker and stuff like that. But for most strength offlaners, the priority is like 2 bracers and then like phase boots or something. Usually, like if you're like a Mars or like a Centaur with the other facet, or maybe like a Tidehunter or a Slardar or whatever, right? Not everybody's going phase boots, but like Slardar can definitely use phase boots for sure. But 2 bracers is kind of your go-to. And then the phase boots allows you to like do damage and kite and run away and chase and take, less damage and all that stuff. Kind of is just like ticking all the boxes for you. So definitely not magic wand here. Yeah, I think you can kind of chalk this whole lane up to like questionable skill builds, maybe some of the wrong items. Like you don't need boots. Like don't need the boots. Wraith Bands, bracers, and phase boots will solve a lot of issues here. Even just like a casual ring of protection, like that can be okay too. Like I'll do that on like Treant sometimes because I'm like, he's got like no armor, right? So adding 2 armor onto a guy with a ton of health is actually a lot of like effective EHP. You can do that. Slardar has pretty good armor, but anyway, that makes sense. It's kind of like items, skill build, and then overextending on this kill here, and then kind of getting a little bit caught off guard on this kill here because of the tower hit. That's really it. Because besides that, you were doing okay on last hits and denies. Like you were not actually losing this lane except for those instances. Yeah. So this magic wand.
I felt like I was like, I felt like I was really like she was like getting a lot more.
She was getting more, but it wasn't like dramatic. You were still getting a lot as well. So here, what we'll do to illustrate that. So let's go back to before you died. So before you died, if you look at the net worth, you're ahead of her, just barely by 3 gold. That's not much. But you're actually ahead of her right now. They're going to kill you. Then she's going to jump ahead. So remember 1,600 versus like 1,500. That's kind of where we were. So she's gotten an extra like 300 off that kill-ish. Something like that.
Yeah.
So I'm watching your net worth right now. It's already... You're actually already closing the gap. Remember like we were saying it was like 300? It's actually getting closer now. But then you die again, so then it gets kind of bad. So you were actually like accelerating a little bit faster than her there.
Okay.
But outside of those 2 deaths, you would just be even with her, and that'd be fine.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's another thing too to note is like sometimes these lanes
Just
we're not.
farm.
What's that? Yeah, just farm, because we're not expecting
yeah.
to really kill them, right? Like we've already thought about
Yeah.
it, and we're like, okay, Slardar versus TA is not the best. You know,
Yeah.
you don't really threaten her. Honestly, she doesn't really threaten you either. She doesn't have any crowd control. So like,
Yeah.
if we're just farming, that's fine, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the first part. That's kind of why this lane goes badly. So from this point, I would actually be thinking like, now that we've died twice, I am now thinking more about like, okay, how do I recover? And less about how do I beat this TA's ass? It's more about like, okay, my timings have been set back, so my priority is to catch up. Regardless of what my team thinks or whatever, that's my goal. So things like the Orb of Corrosion, you don't buy those. You know, buy items that are going to be, you're either going straight to the core items or you're going to be buying items that are going to help you come back into the game. You know, this would be like where you might think about like a Midas or something, right? Or just going for your treads because you need to farm faster.
Yeah. I thought like maybe Midas, but then I was like, I'm too far behind on it. The game will just end like before like.
No, you have time. You have time to go Midas. I mean, it might be a little bit of a grief, but also like it's fine. It's fine. Honestly, you can get away with it in these games for sure. So so here's the next bad thing that happens, right? Is that suddenly you now have multiple heroes in your lane.
Yeah, I think I went back. I didn't go back there. And I think they was annoyed at me because I didn't come back to the lane.
I wouldn't either.
Like, yeah, I was just like, no, I don't.
Yeah.
In my head, I was like, I don't realistically do anything at this moment in time.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like I'm just gonna die again. So I went like mid, but then like they were just all like kept flaming, saying like I need to go like.
Did you mute them?
I just ignored them. Like.
Yeah, next time mute them. If they're telling you how to play and you think it's wrong, like you don't appreciate the other people, like what they're saying to you, it's not actually helping you, just fucking mute them. Because I 100% agree with your assessment of this, of like, okay, my lane is hard, then it went badly because I made some mistakes or whatever, got outplayed a little bit, and like now you guys want me to like fight nonstop and I haven't even finished my boots yet. Absolutely not. Like, no, we're recovering because, you know, it's Slardar. He's a little bit of a greedier offlaner because he's kind of a semi-carry. Yeah, don't get baited by these guys. Just go do what you think is correct, you know? Like, if we'd just been sitting mid this whole time, just catching up, hit this camp, go mid, hit this camp, go mid, right? You'd be a lot better off. Because now we've died, like, since they showed up and you didn't want to come back here, I think you've died like 2 or 3 more times. You know? And now look, you're bottom 3 of the net worth. So your team doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about. Your Rubik doesn't have his stun yet. Like,
He kept pinging at the start. He kept pinging me for not having like crush, and I was like, "But you don't have your stun either, so like we can't even like link them up." And he's like, "Yeah, but you need to get yours." And I was like,
"No, fuck
I'll get
these guys.
Level 4.
Fuck these guys. They don't know what they're talking about. Like, really, you got to start muting people because these people are dummies." Okay. And they're like actively they're making you play worse by giving you like bad instruction.
Yeah, like, I didn't want to go. But I didn't want to go back there, but I just thought, oh, if I go there, maybe they like don't int, if that makes sense, because like they was inting because I didn't go back there, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you're worried about them tilting, right?
Yeah, because I never went back there. Yeah. But then I was like, if I go back there, it's like, oh.
Okay, so that's gonna be, I think, I'm gonna say the main takeaways from this session so far. Let's just write some stuff down so I don't forget it. So item build, skill build, listening to dummy teammates. Try as hard as you can not to do things because you're worried that it's going to tilt your teammates. Okay?
Okay.
This is why we start muting people early. You know that saying, mute early and often, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not just so that it prevents you from tilting, that's also to help you play better. Because let's say this Rubik is like, you should have your stun, and he doesn't have his.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, this Rubik's kind of a dummy, right? You mute him right there, suddenly you're not getting any of the other stupid things he's saying for the rest of the game. So it's not going to compound, and then that'll actually allow you to kind of forget about the one dumb thing he said a little bit.
Yeah.
And you won't be worrying about his input anymore because he hasn't talked in like 10 minutes according to you because he's been muted, right?
Yeah.
It's a very, very powerful tool because especially in lower levels, you're going to get a lot of people that have an idea about something, and that idea may have a kernel of truth to it, but they just don't have enough context to like really be telling anyone else how to play. They just don't. They might have some ideas, you know, maybe this Rubik is like, well, I'm not going to take my stun because my Slardar didn't take my stun, blah, blah, blah. Right? It's like, okay, you clearly gathered information and then made a choice based on that, but you didn't make the right choice. So like he might feel like he's so smart because he adjusted his build or whatever, but it's still wrong, you know?
Yeah.
We don't want to just shit on this Rubik. Sorry, Altair, if you're watching. We don't want to just shit on this one guy, but this will happen to you all the fucking time. You'll get some guy that has some idea that doesn't sound right to you, but you don't want to blow him off. You don't want to be an asshole, so you listen to him because you're worried about him tilting and feeding down mid. There's nothing you can do to like sate these players, these people that are going to be toxic like this, because this is the definition of toxicity, right? He's doing things and then it is then affecting your behavior, because now you're starting to play or act differently based off of what he's doing. That's toxic, right? That's exactly what toxicity is. You know, because who knows, right? Maybe this Slark is sitting here farming away and he's watching this whole thing and he's like, what is my Slardar doing? Right? Because now he's watching you react to what Rubik is saying, and now like now you're affecting him. Like it's a whole fucking spiral, right? Long story short, the instant someone says something stupid or that you think is stupid, I want you to just start muting them, all right?
Okay.
Yeah. The instant anybody flames someone else, mute them. Even if it's not you, fucking mute them. If they say anything stupid, mute them. If they say literally anything that annoys you in any way, like it's literally just their voice, you know, or maybe they've got like fucking, they hold their mic button a little bit too long and you can hear their background music or some shit. Literally anything, just fucking mute them. Because like Dota is hard enough as it is. You don't need to be making it harder on yourself by like worrying about your own team at the same time, you know?
Okay.
That all making sense? Any questions about any of that?
Often if they are just like hinting though, like because of like I don't do it.
What's the word? What'd you say? Hinting?
Hinting, like they just end up like not like they just end up being like really bad, like doing bad stuff even more because I'm not listening to them.
Then there's no solution to that. There's no solution to that. So if you play the way they want, which we already know is bad, right? We shouldn't be forcing our, like, let's take it from the, if I was coaching this Rubik, right, I would be telling him, hey, why are you forcing your Slardar to fight when he's bottom 3 of the net worth? Like, he's a core. You need him to carry the game. Your objective should be, how do I help this Slardar help? Like, can I make stacks for him? Do I need to ward for him in a certain location? Like, where is my Slardar going to farm? Maybe what I need to do is I need to get my Slark out of lane so that he can then go make space for my Slardar. You see what I mean? Like, that's how he should be thinking about this, not, why isn't my Slardar fighting? Like, it's just wrong.
Okay.
Now, let's say you guys were all having a really hard game and, like, OD wasn't showing up to fights. That's a different story because OD's having an okay time, right? So then it's kind of expected that he does start joining fights and stuff like this. But your cores
Okay.
that are very clearly lost their lanes are not supposed to then Hail Mary into every fucking team fight and hope it works, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just wrong. So that's what I would be telling this Rubik. And so, kind of, yeah, what I was trying to say basically is like, you know, he's already said something that we think is silly. So if we listen to him, then, like, to answer your question, if we listen to him, we're playing badly, right? If we don't listen to him, maybe he plays badly. We don't know for sure. But at least we know that we're playing the game the way that we think is correct. And you may be wrong about that. You know, like maybe what you think you're supposed to do in this game is like not correct. But you this is sort of like the way BSJ looks at the game. Like, I don't know if you watch any of his stuff. Like his
I used to a
yeah, he very much approaches the game kind of like clinically. Like every single game is like a personal test for him, and it's very much testing his own theories, and he's just judging, or he's trying to just judge his own gameplay as much as he can, right? So it's all about like self-improvement and your read on the game. Because like if you what MMR are you at right now? You're around 1500, right?
Just under 14, 1387.
1387, right? Okay. So if you listen to your teammates, they're gonna have 1300 MMR thoughts about the game more often than not, right? So, and you might as well, but you know for sure if you listen to these other guys, they're probably gonna have like the same types of thoughts. That's why they're gonna do things like not skill their stun and then tell you to come fight and all that stuff, right? They're just gonna do silly things like that. So you're never ever going to get like strategically better if you're constantly listening to what other players like. You're like, I'm not, this is like a tightrope to walk, because when like for me this is weird, because it's like when you tell people, oh, just mute everyone, oh, just play the game the way you think, like that is inherently like toxic advice, right? Because I'm basically telling everybody to mute each other and just play solitaire, which is not cohesive to like team play at all.
Okay, yeah.
But the main reason we're saying it is because we want you to be able to get better at the game on your own merit, right? So like, that means like you learn how to read your own lane, how to read the game, you learn how to recover, you learn when you're strong or when you made a good choice or when you made a bad choice. Like you learn all that stuff because you're the one making the decision on everything, right? And if you listen to other people and they give you shitty advice, then now you're just playing at their level, right?
Yeah.
And that's a thing, right? Like, I don't know if you ever check how much like playtime some people have, but people will spend thousands of hours stuck in a bracket and then still try to tell other people what they think you should do. And it's like, well, you've been in Guardian for 4,000 hours. I don't really know if I trust your opinion to analyze things anymore, right? You know, if that makes any sense. So yeah, that's main takeaway. Just mute these people and don't worry about it. I guess that's the other thing, right? Don't worry about it. If you mute them and then you're obviously not listening to them because you've muted them, right? And they tilt out and they feed down mid, there is nothing you can do with that player to make him not be a toxic douchebag. Seriously. There's nothing you can do. He was going to do that no matter what. He was either going to tilt at that, or he was going to wait 50 minutes and then tilt because you guys lost a Roche fight, or he was going to tilt in the next game. Nothing you can do about it. People are either toxic or they're not. Really. Because it's that kind of... if you're worried about how they're going to react, that's like a personality thing. You know, obviously everybody gets a little bit tilted, right? But it's the players that, like, they can get a little bit tilted and it doesn't really affect too badly the choices they're making. It's the people that like start doing things to like grief their team that it's like there's no helping them. There's no placating those players. They were going to do it no matter what. That's just how you have to think about it. So, all right, all that said, yeah, basically mute people, don't worry about it, focus on your own game. Especially when you're playing a core. That's even more important when you're playing a core. It's important all the time, but it's extra important when you're playing a core. You need to know what your hero needs and how you need to affect the game. can change a little bit when you're playing a support because, you know, your actions are directly related to what your cores are doing or what the other support is doing.
Yeah.
But I do it too, you know, like I mute people all the fucking time when they just say something dumb or when they start being, not so much when they say something stupid. I learned to like tune it out now.
Yeah.
It's usually when they start flaming anybody for anything, I mute them and then I tell my team to mute them. Or like, let's say, you know, this Rubik is sitting here and he's like flaming Hoodwink or something, right? I'll tell the Hoodwink to mute the Rubik. And I don't know if anyone listens to me, I can't verify that, but it seems to help, you know? Make people stop being toxic. It helps a lot to like stop that spread. I don't know, it's rough.
Yeah.
That's rough. This is why people don't want to play MOBAs anymore, right? Because it's too much of this crap. So yeah. But anyway, that's the main thing. And then the second thing is we would want to be looking to recover as much as possible. And so our items need to kind of reflect that, right? So can you see how like the Orb of Corrosion and the wand are like not really gonna help you? Yeah.
Because they kept trying to say fight, I was just like, oh, basically if I'm gonna go in the TA, I wanna like, could the ticks break her shield? And I was like, oh, like if I can do that and then just like stand off squeamish to her maybe.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure if the ticks work like that anymore, by the way, because her refraction changed a little bit. So do you know how it works now? So now each barrier instance has like or each refraction charge or instance has a barrier to it. So it's not like take 1 damage, lose a refraction charge. She has to take 30 damage now to lose 1 instance.
Oh, okay.
So basically, like a level 4 refraction is effectively what it is. It's 150 barrier split into 5 segments. Kinda.
Okay.
Yeah, it's different now. So dots are not as good against her anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, because if you think about it, this doing 5 DPS for 3 seconds, that's over. You've done 15 damage, right? Over.
Yeah.
Or 15 damage total. Yeah. Why am I having trouble with this? Yeah, over 3 seconds. So that would be, you would need 6 seconds of Orb of Corrosion to break 1 refraction instance.
Yeah, I didn't realize it changed.
Yeah, it changed. So dots are not, I mean, dots are probably still fine, but they're not like, they don't instantly counter her the way that it used to, right? Where she gets hit by 1 Veno right click and loses the whole refraction, right? It's not that bad anymore.
Okay.
Yeah. I think a general Orb of Corrosion is kind of a really hard item to purchase because it's so freaking specific. It doesn't build into anything. You kind of need to be already having a good game, but by purchasing it, you're delaying core items. It's just a weird one. I think there's like 3 heroes in the game that benefit from this item, and it's tough to know when to buy it. Yeah, it's kind of like those guys. For supports, it's like Tusk. Maybe. It's really not that many heroes actually want to buy this anymore. I've seen PAs buy it too. I guess like Monkey King. You kind of want to buy this when you know you're going to be in lane and dueling the guy for a long time, but then, I don't know, it's weird. I'm not the person to ask about this item, but it definitely doesn't really help you recover, for sure. So yeah, alright. Well, I think we've beaten that to death. Do you have any other questions about this, or any other parts of the game that you wanted to look at?
No, I think just the start bit now, but I think it's like, sometimes, like, would you like at the start, if I didn't die, would you think I would have been okay out of lane, if that makes sense?
Yeah, totally. Like, let's say we didn't die twice there, I think you would have gone even, and then that would have helped you out a lot, because usually what happens is with like kind of even scaling, the offlaner will naturally get stronger than the carry at a certain point. And then that's kind of when, and then if you add in support rotations on top of that, you kind of automatically win your lane at a certain point, because it becomes not worth it for them to defend it anymore. Usually, like, your support's going to rotate in first, you guys are going to take the tower, and then the lane's over. So usually, like, it's kind of okay if you're just going even. You don't have to kill the carry, because he's going to get booted out of lane regardless anyway, right? Usually that's the case. And on a hero that's like Slardar, especially, where we kind of have this like mid-game timing where once he has like his boots and a couple like small items like bracers and he gets his blink, he can start contributing. And then once he has like blink BKB, now he's like really going. And then once he gets like harpoon, like that's like super going, right? That's why some people will skip the blink and they'll just go Echo Saber straight into harpoon, because it's kind of doing the same thing. You can do that too. But yeah, he's definitely like a big game hero, but he needs some items to start doing that, because he just can't do anything at range. He needs that blink to help out, or he needs some sort of gap close, right? Especially into 5 ranged heroes, right? Like, how the hell are you ever going to get to a Drow or a TA or a Quap or even Grimstroke as a Slardar with no blink? Like, you're just not going to be able to. You're going to get kited to death.
Yeah.
Even with Guardian Sprint, right? So, yeah, I would look at... I can't remember right now. Let me look at Slardar's... what are his new things?
One he gets more armor, and then the other one he gets like movement speed.
So I think if I knew I was against this team, I think leg day is correct, because you are playing into a Drow and a TA and a Grimstroke, and they can all slow you, right? Even Quap can slow you. So I think leg day is correct. You could make the argument for Brian Guard, because you have the negative armor coming in from TA.
Yeah.
But that's about it.
Ignores armor.
She ignores armor, right? So like buying more armor is not exactly gonna help there. So I think leg day is correct. And then it would just be, you know, like, don't buy the wand. Like, you can maybe buy the stick, but it's kind of a last. We don't want it. We really don't want it. We want stat items. We want like bracers, maybe wraith bands, either treads or phase boots. Probably phase boots here.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you're good to go. So for item build, let's say we would cut wand completely. Prioritize extra bracer or wraith band. Then phase boots or treads. The phase boots are going to be more to help you in that specific lane and to help you skirmish early. The treads are to help you farm better.
Okay.
That's pretty much the 2 routes, right? Treads are farm speed and like the ability to stand still and duel people. And then phase boots is your skirmishing, ganking, chasing, kiting, those types of items. They're better for fighting, right?
Okay.
I think in general, I would just go with the phase boots, especially versus the TA. For skill build, need point in crush by level 2. You can do E or you can do W level 1. But you need a point by 2. And then I wouldn't, in that lane, I wouldn't bother putting a lot of points into Q. Maybe 1 point around level 4.
Okay.
I wouldn't put any more into beyond that though, because your W and your E scale really, really well. They're both very good spells to level up. I mean, Bash the Deep quadruples in damage. And
I normally go like, by level like 4 and I go like 1-1-2. Normally
1-1-2. Yeah. Another thing to think about is your farm speed, right? So when you're thinking about like, am I in a hard lane or not? That means we're gonna need more time to recover after going even or losing our lane. So anything in our skill build that it can help us come back into the game will become a priority. And I will do this even on supports. So if I see that we're kind of losing multiple lanes at once, I will actually start putting more points into my AoE spells because I'm predicting that my cores are not going to be able, they're either not going to bother or they're not going to be able to clear waves. And so in order to both help relieve pressure and create opportunities and obviously just farm, like I'll start doing that, right? Yeah. So like Jakiro's a good example, where usually if we're kind of winning, I might end up leaving my Q at like level 2 and putting more points in my W or my E to like put pressure on the map and like take towers and stun people and stuff. And if we're losing, I might do the inverse and put 4 points in Q, so I just have better wave clear. As an example, right? Or maybe like like Shadow Shaman would be a good example, where like if you're super winning, getting a lot of points in shackles is going to help you get even more kills. Whereas if the game is hard, you kind of want more points in Ether Shock so you can like blow out waves while you're split pushing, right?
Yeah.
Because if you're losing, you know, can you really get a max duration shackle off? Like, no, you're just going to die anyway, right? So yeah, we want more AoE and more farming ability the harder it is.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you also could consider a Midas. You could totally consider a Midas here, and that would be based on how your other lanes are doing. So if you feel like OD is doing really well and you feel like Slark's having a free game, then you're kind of allowed to buy Midas. Totally fine. Okay. Because it's not like all three of you are buying Midas at the same time, right? Like two of you are going to be able to like hold the line while you recover. So you could totally buy a Midas here and it wouldn't be bad at all. Okay. Good to do if other cores are having a good game. Right. Let's see. Got one completely. Don't bother with Orb of Corrosion. Doesn't counter PA. Alright, listening to dummy teammates. Instant mute. That's gonna be the other thing. So mute people that are toxic, say dumb things. Don't, and then this is the other really important thing. Don't start playing differently because you're worried about them tilting and like griefing your game.
Yeah. Just make sure, like, if I'm gonna play away, stick to it.
Yeah. And you know, like the main thing is like, as long as you have a reason and you have a logic to it, and even like it's totally okay for you to communicate all this as well. You can be like, hey guys, I had a really hard lane, I need to recover to get my blink, and then I can start showing up. So like, I'm not showing up. You can just tell them that. Like it's not even like I think this is a good communication habit to build is like, don't wait until the thing comes up to communicate about it. Like do it ahead of time. So like if you know that you're in recovery mode and like you don't want to fight, you can just tell your team, I'm not showing up to the next fight, I'm farming, right? I need this item, like I'm not showing up and here's why, but also like here's when you can expect me. Like I'm like, it might come out as I need my blink before I can fight, or I'm not farming till blink, or whatever the hell, or I'll let's smoke once I get blink, I'm gonna go farm. Whatever it is, just communicate that, right? Okay. Stick to your game plan. Feel free to communicate your game plan. And that's the important part. It's your game plan, not like you're telling other players what to do. You're telling them what you're planning to do. So this is that kind of like proactive, assertive communication where you communicate things that are relevant to your team because they wouldn't know them otherwise, right? So this is a it's kind of a higher level communication style to have, but it's much more of a focus on like calling stuff out that you see, like, hey, I think TA is close to Hurricane Pike or whatever the fuck, or like if you spot an item on like someone's courier or something, like you can go ahead and ping that, right? Or you can say something about it, or saying like, hey, my spell is up soon, or whatever the hell, right? Informing your team of things is totally fine. Telling your team what to do, you have to be a lot more careful about that and should probably generally avoid it. but informing them is totally fine. So we're just going to say inform, don't instruct. And that would be where this Rubik is making the mistake, right? Because he's not informing you of anything. He's just trying to tell you how to play the game. We don't want to do that, right? Because it's, try and avoid it. So any questions about any of that stuff?
No, I got that stuff.
Okay, for sure. Let's continue with the tread switching thing. So still focus on managing inventory. That's also good. Because I think, did you feel like that was helpful from last time?
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, I remembered to, it was like, just to like actually, like, even though like the one game was like a stomp, I still was like thinking to just ward and like spend money on like wards more.
Yeah, and I noticed it.
Money.
Yeah, I totally noticed it in that Windrunner game. So that's really good. Okay, so if you feel like that was helpful, let's keep on that, keep that focus. And then the last thing is going to be just start muting people. You know, obviously, if you think they deserve it, just start muting people.
Yeah.
And don't feel bad about it. You know, you'll find it's totally refreshing to not have to listen to these idiots. It's very good.
Okay.
So yeah. All right, man. Well, we'll call it there, and we'll do same time next week.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, sounds good. You're welcome.
No problem.
Thank you as well. Good luck in your next game. Good job on the practice so far, and I'll see you next time.
All right. Thank you.
All right. See you, dude.
Bye.
Alright guys, if that was helpful, don't forget, like and subscribe. It helps out a lot. If you want to watch these, we've been recording them on Thursdays at 2 p.m. Pacific time. And also I stream every weekday at Mr. Rip TV. Check out the playlist at the end of the video if you want to see more coaching videos, and I hope to see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.